Hi there, my name's Laura Kellen-May, and welcome to StreamHorseTV Stable Social Live, where we spark engaging conversations for all horse people, no matter what area of the equine world you're in. Our guest today is Kareem Rosser, author and polo champion. Stay tuned as we find out how the world of horses changed the trajectory of his life, from living through a childhood surrounded by violence and addiction to being an intercollegiate national champion winning polo player. Before we get to Kareem, I'd like to share with you a little bit about Stable Social Live. We'll gather weekly here, joined by special guests from all across the equine space, including riders, trainers, horse care experts, authors, artists, and notable horse world personalities. And we have a special segment all about retired racehorses starting their second careers. We'd like for you to get involved and be part of the conversation right here. So please put your questions and comments right in the chat area. One final thing before we head off to our guest: if you know someone who should be watching this, or if you know someone who would like to see this, please share it. We'd appreciate it. So now I'm excited to have our guest today, Kareem Rosser. Hi, Kareem.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you coming in from today?
I am in Philadelphia. I am in downtown Philly, just a few minutes from where I grew up as a kid in West Philly. Fortunately not where I grew up, but not far away.
Excellent. What's the weather like there today?
It's beautiful. It's fortunately not 95 or 95 plus, and we didn't have to deal with the sun and humidity today, which is good. And I guess the last few days have been rainy here, but it was certainly a sunny day in Philly today.
Well, tell me, are you a Flyers fan?
I'm a Philadelphia fan. I'm a fanatic.
Okay.
I bleed green. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. I'm rooting for my Sixers right now. It was a tough loss against Atlanta last night. The Phillies are doing okay. I think we still have some room for improvement. And then unfortunately the Flyers let us down this year, but maybe we'll get better next year. We'll see.
Yeah. So in your new memoir, Crossing the Line, A Fearless Team of Brothers and the Sport That Changed Them Forever, you take us through your journey from growing up in the neighborhood that you mentioned,
yes,
called The Bottom in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Okay. And how horses and polo changed the course of your life. Now, we start this program off with warm-ups, weekly warm-up. And I'm curious, I've never played polo, but I do a lot of riding.
Yes.
What's a polo warm-up look like?
A polo warm-up, it basically, I think most athletes will go out and kind of get themselves into a routine. But, my warm-up would be just going and kind of either if I'm riding horses that I've never been on, which is most of the time, because I don't own any polo ponies. Typically, I'm traveling to places and riding new horses. I go and familiarize myself with those horses and just try to understand as much as I can from either the owners or the individuals who were taking care of them. And then, then I'll get on and go hit a few balls and ride and get a feel for that particular horse. As we each know, horses all have their own personalities. Sometimes, sometimes you get one that's a little more difficult than the others. But for me, going to these places and playing, most times I don't have that much time to adjust. So I really got to figure it out, as I'm playing. So whenever I get a chance to go out and ride and just to get a feel for the horse, that's typically what I do.
Just kind of figure out where all the buttons are.
Yeah, basically, exactly. That's a good.
What about you? What do you do? Do you stretch are you lefty or righty?
Well, I'm a righty, so one thing about pole is that you always have to play with your right hand. So
Well,
that
you
is a
always have to.
Yeah, so that's a
Oh,
requirement for the sport. So regardless if you're lefty or righty, but I go out, I'll stretch a little. I'm very bad at stretching, but my warm up really is just kind of getting on and riding to get a feel for the horses before I go out and play.
yeah. Does somebody else warm the horses up for you? Like, are they walked before you get on, or do you?
Sometimes, yeah. So before a chucker or a period, which is chucker is a period in polo. For those who don't know, but they'll have their grooms kind of warm them up for a couple minutes before they start the chucker. But my first or second horse, first period or second period horse, I'll get on before the game to warm them up and get them ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. It's a little different than a dressage rider or a hunter jumper rider. I think the warm ups may be a little bit different. So thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay. So when you were a kid growing up, how did you find the horses and the work to ride program?
Yeah, so when I was a young boy, fortunately, my two older brothers at the time, David and Jabbar, they were out on the bike ride in Philadelphia in Fairmount Park. And they were just out, on a Sunday afternoon bike ride. And like most people, they ended up at the dead end where the stable is on Chamonix Drive in West Fairmount Park. And at that time, Leslie just started the work to ride program, and there were about a few kids. And this was late 90s, early 2000s when my brother found the program. I was 8 at the time, and my older brothers were a few years older than me. And they, just happened to walk into the barn where they saw all of these horses, and this woman who ends up turning out to be this incredible person, Leslie. Leslie invited them in and gave them some paperwork and said, we have this work to ride program. If you want to join, take this paperwork back to your mom and have her fill it out. So my mom filled out that paperwork, and it's been history ever since then.
So this is a picture of the stable. Is that right?
Yep. That's the
Yeah.
stables in Fairmount Park there.
And does it still kind of look the same?
Yeah,
Now?
so a little bit about the stable. So we actually lease the facility from the city of Philadelphia for $1 a year, and Leslie has been doing that for almost 27 years now. I think 27 years is just this July will make it 27 years, and the stables was built I want to say 1971 or 72, and it was used for the city mounted police. But eventually they consolidated some of the departments there and got rid of the mounted unit. And fortunately for us, that stable became available, and we've been housing our horses and running the program out of that stable for 25 plus years now.
Excellent. And it's well thought of. The work to ride program it was important to you, and it must be very important to the community.
Yeah. So I should even give it some little background on Work to Ride. So Leslie founded the organization in '94, and the idea was to serve low-income families in the Philadelphia region from all over the city. And so we focus on disadvantaged families and kids in particular. And Leslie thought that she could use horses as an incentive to take kids away from the impoverished communities where they all grow up, and majority of the kids are facing so many challenges, dealing with coming from families with drug addiction, abusive families, kids who grow up in terrible school districts. So Leslie wanted to use this program as a way to provide kids with an alternative other than what they would see in their day-to-day lives growing up in some of these very tough neighborhoods, and then using horses as an incentive to do that. So the mission essentially is just really providing kids with an education and an opportunity that they wouldn't receive anywhere else.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that certainly came across that way when I was reading your book, when you said that you were having a hard time, you were very difficult situations, you just wanted to get to the barn, and as soon as you went to the barn, you could hear the horses and smell the horses and just be around them, and they offered that sense of welcome, I guess. And I have to
Yeah.
tell you, I feel the same way when I go to the stable. You know, when you're feeling bad or distressed, then the nicest sound you can hear is just that even, steady munching of hay that the
Yeah.
horses have, right? It's just, I'm not quite sure how it gets right to your soul, but it does.
No, no, you're absolutely right. I think about the challenges that I faced as a child and some of the adversity that I had to overcome. Whenever I was at the barn, that's when I was most happy. All the anxiety and all that, mental health stuff that I dealt with as a kid. When I was at the barn, I felt at ease. I felt safe, and just that again, walking to the barn and smelling the barn and seeing the horses and interacting with the horses. As a horse person, I think it's probably like one of the most therapeutic things one can experience. So to be able to just have access to that, we were all fortunate as kids. So the barn is my happy place. I now as an adult, I kind of in a weird way miss mucking stalls, but I remember as a kid I hated it. I never wanted to muck a stall.
Solve
But
the entire world's problem, mucking stalls.
yeah, you don't realize, when you're at the barn and you're, just in your own world, or I guess in the horse's world, if you will. You're just in a completely different element, and it's for me. I just always found it therapeutic.
That's wonderful information. Thank you so much. And the book reads like a diary, really.
Yeah.
What made you decide to share the details and write about your life?
And I've said this in the past. Really, my story, our story, the Work to Ride story, has been covered for a couple of decades now, and then we've been featured on different national television outlets and covered in a lot of media. But each time we are always covered, it's always this very high level view of what the organization is and who we are and what we've accomplished. So I thought it was really important to just detail our story and tell it in a way that it hasn't been told. At the same time, I really wanted to be able to tell Leslie's story too, and the sacrifice that she made for the organization, and the struggles that we went through as a family, that I went through personally as a young boy, all the adversity that we had to face, and how we dealt with those things. And I was hoping it also would just inspire and motivate people and give people hope. There are a lot of stories out there where people have overcome a lot and inspired folks, and it changed some lives. And I'm just hoping mine could be one of many stories that can do good for the world.
Now, at any moment and time when you were growing up, did you ever think of not returning to the Work to Ride program?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it featured so strongly that, but it seemed to be, oh, yeah, yay. And then it seemed like when you were writing about your high school, your military high school experience, and you wanted to leave there and go back to Work to Ride with, there was ever a time that you thought that, well, geez, this Work to Ride is no good. I want to go back. I don't want to go back here anymore.
No, never. It was the total opposite of that. Like whenever I got an opportunity to, be at the barn, I wanted to be there. It was a place again where I felt safe. This is where a place that I saw was just changing lives. Even as a young boy, I immediately knew. My intuition just was I need to be here to improve my life and to gain exposure to a different world. And it was, there was never a day I felt like I didn't want to be there. I was sad when I wasn't there.
Mm.
So it was an easy choice for me personally.
So thank you so much. Now let's follow up on the horses. Horses, I know they are amazing creatures. You said in a recent you have said in a recent interview, it's amazing what a horse can do. What
Mhm.
did these horses really do for you, and what does that mean? What does that mean when you said that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, what can't they do, right? That's like
Hmm.
it's a real question. But for me, again, personally, they gave me purpose. As a young boy, you could not catch me. Like, I would always avoid my house chores, and it actually like really would piss my mom off, the fact that we would go to the stable and have no issue cleaning horse crap, but we would never vacuum our rooms or do the dishes, right?
I
Uh,
think
you know,
I think Kareem, just to follow up on that, same here. I mean, I think I can eat canned spaghetti off the floor of the stable aisle floor, but you know what? There's a stack of dishes and a stack of laundry there. I think that's something you never grow out of. Sorry
yeah,
to
yeah,
interrupt you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
carry
no,
on.
no, no, absolutely. So, yeah, having horses in my life, it gave me purpose, and also the responsibility, that responsibility aspect of all of this, understanding how to just care for something, learning just all of the disciplines that it takes to manage and run a barn. All those life skills that we learned over time by caring for the horses as well was one of the things I appreciate. But at the same time, it's like I was always calm and relaxed, and I just think about what it did for me mentally. That's something that I really appreciate. Because whenever I'm at the barn, any worries that I have going on, they kind of go out the window when I'm there. So, I just they're just really important creatures in my life.
And I think that holds true even now. Well, if you go to the stable now, it's the same sort of thing. Is it, Kareem? Like when you go to the stable, do you kind of still have that same feeling as you did when you were a kid?
Yeah, I'm always like, I feel like a kid every time I go there.
Yeah.
And then like I said, recently I muck stalls again. I guess recently, probably several months ago. But that I just kind of forgot what that was like, in grooming and tacking up a horse, all those things. I just felt, in a way, just helped me personally. So, that feeling never goes away. I always feel like a kid when I'm there.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, let's talk a little bit about polo.
Yes.
Uh, thanks for putting the rules of polo in the book, by the way. I
Yeah.
appreciated that. I never knew what was going on. I have a little bit better understanding about that. What level of rider do you have to be to actually be competent out in the polo field?
Yeah. It's a great question. So, one thing that Leslie, the executive director of Work to Ride, made sure of, that we learned how to ride before we got on the polo field. Riding, I think, in anything you do is obviously your ability to ride is so important, and just the very basics, understanding how to keep your heels down and having a very nice seat and a soft hand. That's those things are key. So I spent a lot of time actually riding before I even picked up a polo mallet for the first time. So I think I probably rode for probably a good year and a half, almost 2 years before I held or swung a polo mallet. So I want to say riding is a very, very key part before you decide to pick up a polo mallet and ride. But then after that, once you have the riding part down, unlike most disciplines, polo ponies you neck rein, so you're riding with one hand and you have your mallet in your other hand. So you're kind of, you're multitasking here. And some people find that challenging, especially if you're used to riding with two hands and you're used to having contact with the horse with, both hands. That's something you kind of lose in polo. So, and then now a little bit about the game. So there's two different types of polo. You have grass polo and then you have arena polo. Grass polo, the field is the size of 9 football fields. So essentially you can place nine football fields on the polo field. It's 4 versus 4. So 4 players on each team. You have 2 umpires out on the field. You have, the game is about 2 hours long, typically an average game. And there are 6 chukkers. So chukkers are equivalent to periods. And each chukker is about 7 minutes long. At a very high level, horses that are playing in what's called high go polo. Players are typically bringing about, I want to say, 10 to 14 horses per person to a game. So, like as if you go and ride at a horse show, you only probably have like 1 or 2 horses that you're showing at a polo
2
game.
minutes, 2 minutes a course, or 2 minutes dressage test or something like that, and you do 5 or 3 classes a day.
Yeah, exactly. So polo, you have a string of horses that you bring with you to a game, and each horse will play. Again, it all depends on the level of game, the endurance, or the stamina of the horse. A horse will play about 2 to 3 minutes a period or chukker, and then you'll often see players swap out multiple horses during a period or during a chukker. And then the object of the game is to score as many goals as you can. And it's a contact sport. Some people say that it's almost as dangerous as NASCAR, if not more dangerous. So people often have some really nasty spills, if you will, and so it is a dangerous sport. And that's kind of very high level overview of what the game is, but I love it. To me it's one of those things that's immediately it's addicting.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Galloping
I'm an
horses.
adrenaline junkie.
Yeah,
so I love it.
It's exciting to watch and see galloping horses, and it's excellent. So thank you so much. And the horses, I think they're pretty tuned in. Like they follow that ball. Like they're going for it. They know their job.
Yeah, no, a really well-trained polo pony, you'll eventually be able to follow the game. They're anticipating every shot that you make. Yeah. They some horses love, sorry, my cat's in the background here. Some horses
people love cats.
Yeah. Some horses love the contact of the sport and being able to crash into other horses. So yeah, it's an incredible game. I love it. So whenever I get a chance to play, I'm all for it.
Thank you so much. And now let's follow up on that. You were part of the first ever All Black National Championship team. What kind of effect do you think that moment had on the polo world or the equestrian world?
Yeah, no, so polo it's a predominantly white sport. There aren't many black faces. I think myself and my teammates are the few that are in the sport. I think it was a big moment for the sport. Considering many people, at least especially where I grew up, or those who don't have the means to participate. It kind of opened some doors for some people. And then, we were able to bring a little diversity to the sport, which I think it's another good thing. And I'm just hoping that, myself and my teammates and what Leslie has done, just encourage other folks who may not look like the people who are participating in the sport, or folks who may feel like they don't have the means, or it's this exclusive thing, that they're not welcome, which is not the case. I think the win for us personally was big because we spent a lot of years working towards that. It was a lot of losses and long drives and many moments where we felt defeated and just, I think at times some of us probably wanted to give up, but with a lot of hard work, we were able to accomplish something that Leslie and we all dreamt of for a really long time.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's wonderful that you can share that with us. Thank you so much. I'm just going through my questions here. Okay, so if you're just joining in, my name's Laura Kellen May, and this is the Stable Social Live. Our guest today is Kareem Rosser, author and polo champion. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments here. We'd love to hear your questions or comments if you have any comments for us. Okay, so following up on Leslie Hickner still runs the Work to Ride, does she not?
Yeah, so Leslie Hickner is the founder and executive director. Like every time I talk about her, I just describe her as a saint. She's just an incredible person that has sacrificed her life to, and she's devoted her life to saving kids' lives and horses' lives. She's at the barn probably 90 hours a week, making sure the kids and horses are safe, and providing lifetime opportunities for the kids. So she's founder in ED and has been running it since '94. And there's no signs of her slowing down. She's going to be there as long as she possibly can, and continue to run the organization.
Excellent. Yes, and you've described her as a mentor. And what are the qualities that she has that you think that makes her a good mentor for you and for the other children that are coming up in the Work to Ride program?
Yeah, no, I mean, she has so many qualities, but some that come to mind.
Yeah, it's only like a 50-minute hour program, so yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding you, Kareem.
Oh,
you
no,
said just so okay, yeah. So carry on.
Sorry, I don't know why I thought someone like just dropped a question or something for you. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know exactly. Yes, I can go on for days about how many qualities that she has, but she no, she's just she's an incredible leader. Just her ability to connect with the kids, especially kids who come from backgrounds that she just didn't grow up in the way many of these kids grew up, but her ability to connect with them, her kindness and her ability to just understand and forgive people. She's just one of a kind, and she's never she's never compromised her what she believed in, and stuck to her mission for nearly more than 2 decades now. And she's just an incredible person, honestly. I can say so many great things about her, but just her ability to believe in me personally and to constantly get back and sacrifice everything that she's had. She's given up her career in the corporate world. She has put in all of her personal savings to keep the program going. So she's done a lot to improve other lives.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's wonderful what she's doing, and it's really, for me, even to read about her, it's very inspiring for me as well to hear about her and what she's doing for the children and for the horses and for the equestrians, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. We do have some comments that I'd like to get to. Cindy McCullough says, are there lots of kids trying to get into the program? Are there lots of kids trying to get into the program? Are there lots of kids trying to get into the program?
Yeah, I mean, we're always reaching out to kids in the community. Right now at the moment, we're actually trying to expand our program and service more kids, but we're actually putting the infrastructure into place so that we can service more kids. So there's constant demand for individuals who want to be a part of the program.
Maggie Kimmett. Maggie Kimmett says Kareem recently crossed an item off his personal bucket list when he galloped a racehorse at our barn. How was that?
Yeah, that was an incredible experience to get on a racehorse that was in season. It was a completely different ride from when from being on the polo pony. It's just not the same. I think in the beginning I was quite nervous. I was just hoping that I just didn't get ran off with on the track, and I was able to survive. So I would certainly do it again, but I'll probably do a little more exercise to make sure I'm prepared.
That's on my bucket list too, actually, Kareem, is to ride a horse out of the starting gates. I think that would be pretty intense too. Okay, so Allison Kelland Wells, thank you, Allison, for the comment. Sorry, I missed the book title. When did you have time to write it?
Yeah, so I spent probably just over a year writing the book, and it was basically, and whenever I wasn't in the office and I was home, I had some downtime to put pen to paper and work on it.
Thank you for sharing that. Allison, thank you so much, Allison, for this comment. Is she a rider? I guess she's asking about Leslie. Is she a rider?
Yes, Leslie did. Yes, Leslie. She played polo with us for a while, and now that she's busy just running the stables and doesn't have much time really to get on, she hasn't been riding much. But she is, still very involved with the kids.
So Liz Calloway says, I missed the beginning. Kareem, do you compete at the Kentucky Horse Park?
I do not. I have not had an opportunity to play at the Kentucky Horse Park. The one time I did play in Kentucky, it was at a different farm, and I don't recall the name of the place, but I haven't had an opportunity to play there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kareem, for answering those comments. We appreciate the comments. It's always fun to hear what people have to ask, and thank you for that. Now, about your book, you dedicated your book to victims of gun violence, namely your brother and your best friend, who were also part of the Work to Ride program.
Yes.
Is there a message you'd like to share for communities out there who are dealing with this as their daily reality?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I know guns is a big topic in America right now, and figuring out how to either enforce some laws or put some sort of gun controls in place that will help with either mass shootings and people just carrying guns in general. Unfortunately, I think we're miles away from doing anything, but I don't want to get too political. I'm just hoping that at some point, it's just as humans and as just people in a society that we just realize that we don't need guns. In particular in my community or where I grew up, a lot of people resort to violence to solve conflict, and I don't think that's the answer to any conflict, honestly. But my heart goes out to folks who have to face reality in terms of losing someone to gun violence. I'm just hoping that we can, as a country, get to a point to where we can put something in place that, you know, ultimately can kind of get rid of guns.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Appreciate it. Now, another question here along that same vein. What would you say to people out there who feel like they cannot make it out of their situation?
Yeah, you know, it's actually it's a great question. You know, I was talking to someone recently just about the fact that, you know, where I grew up, a lot of people spend time thinking about surviving, right? So the idea of college and you know, achieving anything outside of your community is sometimes really far-fetched, because you're worrying about how you're going to get through the day, or how are you going to feed your family, or how are you going to find a job. You're just thinking about surviving. You know, and I just want to encourage those people, you know, because I faced the same situation where it was I had to make a choice about, you know, either, you know, going down a path where some may consider it easy in terms of, you know, maybe going to go do drugs and skip school, or going the harder route is where, you know, showing up to school, trying to get, you know, trying my best in school and to get the grades to go into college. That stuff, it's a struggle. It's hard. It's painful at times, but, you know, what I personally learned is just all about, you know, my personal growth. I look back on it, and at the end of the day, it is rewarding. You know, it is the right thing to do in terms of, you know, going to get an education, find ways to, you know, expose yourself to different, you know, parts of the world and different aspects and what's going on in the world. All of those things, I think, are what allowed me to personally grow. But, you know, sometimes I think adversity it's a good thing. You know, it teaches you lessons. You know, and you know, I think challenges just it allows you to grow as a person. And, you know, sometimes you just can't let those things hold you back, and it's always trying to figure out how to persevere. So, you know, I message to folks who, you know, feel that, you know, life may be challenging, or they may be going through difficult things, that, you know, I think at the end of the day, if you believe that it's going to work out for you, it will.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. And it's an incredible story, Kareem. Thank you for sharing it and writing about it. And everyone should hear it and read your book. And where can we get your book?
My book, I mean, you can go to our Macmillan website. You just Google it. There's several Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. There's quite a few retailers that are out there that are holding the book. But you know, I basically suggest, you know, folks to Google it. Also check out the Work to Ride website. But quite a few places are out there.
So I think we're going to put the Work to Ride website. I think, yeah, there. It's just flashing across the screen there. And I think they're going to put it in the comments as well, so they can check it out there as well. Well, thank you so much, Kareem. Now we're going to move on to the OTTBs, the off the track thoroughbreds. It's a retraining goals segment where each month we're spotlighting retired racehorse in their second career. And this segment is sponsored by the Retired Racehorse Project. Now we're going to bring on Caitlin here. Hi, Caitlin.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
That's good. So I want to read a little bio about Caitlin, and then we're going to get Kareem and Caitlin to talk about their off-the-track thoroughbreds. Caitlin grew up horse-obsessed in a non-horsey family in Texas. She started on the 4-H circuit as a kid, and she's worked on the media and marketing side of the horse world, the horse racing industry, for the past 7 years, and she's currently COO of Grand Slam Social, a boutique equestrian-focused social media agency. She also co-hosts the Amplify Horse Racing podcast. Where can people find that Amplify Horse Racing podcast?
We are on iTunes or Spotify.
Okay. And
So, well,
now,
sorry, I guess it's not iTunes, actually. It's Apple Podcasts.
okay. And now with her horse, Charles, she's taking to the show world, riding in the adult amateur hunters. Yay. So last week we saw Caitlin, saw your first ride. We saw your first jumping course. That, and then we're going to get to you in a second, but I want to ask Kareem about your polo horse, Cholo. We've got a picture of Cholo. High-spirited. He was an ex-racehorse, and we talked about the polo ponies, but you trained this horse, right?
Yeah, so I fortunately was able to. I think I got Cholo when he was, I want to say about 3 or 4 off the track, and when Leslie and Work Dry, when we purchased him, we raced him for I think a couple more times, and unfortunately, he didn't do that well, so we realized that we wanted to kind of start Cholo's polo career. So the idea was I was going to train Cholo and sell him and use the funds for my college tuition. But I fell in love with Cholo and I could not sell him. And, now he's with us, 18 years later.
Is he? Yeah, excellent. That's wonderful news. That's what we like to hear. Horses getting and staying in their families. That's excellent. So did you... Caitlin, when we were talking about how clean the stable was versus how clean your house is, could you relate to that?
Absolutely. I still do that. I would rather, I will procrastinate by cleaning tack or almost anything else at the barn before I will come home and do household chores.
Exactly. So we saw Charles and Caitlin last week, and go to their first horse show. And if you want to check out the replay on that, we're going to post that in the comments so you can see that. Now let's see what Charles is doing this week. How was Charles this past week?
He has been amazing. I don't want to speak too soon. We have a few days left of the show, but he
so can you
really
tell us
taken to it
about this course here?
Yeah, so this was his second day showing, and this is my trainer, Adrienne Gamboa Ford, riding. She does him much more justice than I do. In the hunter ring, she puts in beautiful, smooth, even rides on him, and he loves it. We really think that he just enjoys the atmosphere, and he, we've had some baby moments. The first day, it rained basically all last week, and so you can see it's pretty muddy here. He didn't have to show in the rain this day, but his first day, he competed in the rain and the mud, which he was not really used to because everything that we have at home is covered. So he's taken everything.
I think we have that one where it's pissing down rain. Just a second, let's see if I can find it.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I love those lead changes. He looks amazing.
Aren't they smooth? They're pretty good, eh?
I know. Those are some great lead changes there.
He's got pretty natural. That was something that I saw on his video that they showed last week when he was kind of just running around in the ring, and it looked like they came pretty natural to him. So yeah, so this is Charles and I on Sunday.
This is before the rain.
No, this is after. So this was
after the rain.
Yeah, so it had dried up a little bit at this point, but they kept switching rings. So he, as you can see, he's like very enthusiastic about his job, and he actually, I I told my trainer, I think it was Saturday, that I schooled him, and I said, this is the first time I've ever ridden him that I felt like I'm on an ex-racehorse.
Yeah.
Because so at home, normally I'm using, like, I have spurs and a crop, because
I noticed you had spurs on. Yeah.
he's generally on the quieter side. He's incredibly quiet for a thoroughbred. But he has kind of turned it up at the show and been very strong. I don't think this is the one, but this is earlier today. He had a beautiful round, his first round. This is again with my trainer on him. And then he got fired up for the second round, and it was much quicker. Put a 5 and a 6 coming home. He just could not help. Yeah, I could not help himself. But I mean, you know, we've been here for over a week now.
You say he's a 4-year-old?
Yes.
So he's a 4-year-old. So he's just, I mean, that I got to find that one where he's going in the rain. Because I mean, for a 4-year-old, go inside, to go outside, to go in the rain, to go in all this stuff. He's not even looking around. He's just kind of happy to be there. Yep. This was his first time in that covered arena too, which can be a little bit scary. It was funny. I was actually reading an article about a horse preparing for the Retired Racehorse Project, and the author was saying she had taken her horses to the Florida Horse Park, and she had read, or she mentioned that the Florida Horse Park can be like the Kentucky Horse Park in that it lights horses up a bit. And he's definitely been, like I said, he's strong, but he's just so he's excited. I think it's enthusiasm more than anything. He understands the job now. So he's been in full training since January. I've had him since September. And I think it's all kind of clicking in that this is the new life. And he seems to be liking it.
It's amazing.
Is that, oh no, that was 6.
Oh yeah. So it's the second. So she stayed in and finished her round because, of course, my trainer, she rode like 10 horses today. So she was going in between the 1.20 meter, 10s, coming to do the 2'3" on Charles, and then back to the 1.20s. And so she just stayed in the ring and went again. And at that point he was awake. So
excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, before you go, we're going to do some of the comments here. We've got some comments. Joe says, can't wait to read the book. Thank you very much, Joe. Okay, so Liz says, thank you very much, Liz. Yes, we've gotten tons of rain in Kentucky.
Today was beautiful, finally.
Joanne Pierce, thank you, Joanne, for sending in a comment here. How wonderful to hear about the Work to Ride program, a beautiful legacy and gift to the world. Thank you so much, Joanne. Appreciate it.
You.
And then Joanne also says, looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
And Joanne says, bravo, Leslie. Yes, thank you so much. And Patrick, love the TVs. Thank you, Patrick, so much. Appreciate you giving us a comment. Thank you so much. Now, as far as question goes, so what kind of challenges are you facing this week? Your horse has been in stabling for a week. Mm-hmm. Is that a little different than what you do at home?
Yes, except with all the rain, they usually don't go out in the rain anyways. And then I heard that Houston is preparing for a tropical storm, so it sounds like there's even more rain coming down there. So I did rent a paddock while we were here. They have like small paddocks that you can rent to turn your horses out in. And I went ahead and invested in that because I knew even if he got a few hours in it, you know, every day or every other day, that he would, that I would have a happier horse for it. And so yeah, between that and then yesterday he just went on a hack with his barn buddies around the Kentucky Horse Park. And it was actually the first true hack that we had ever been on together, because we live in Houston, and space is limited at our barn. So there's not really like a lot of trail riding opportunities. So we went out for the first time. And I mean, again, he just completely impressed me. We had, he was with 6 other horses. He was a total gentleman, even picked up a canter in the cross country field. And it was the most lovely canter. He was mostly concerned. I think he thought he had gone to heaven because of all the grass.
Excellent. So what about training for this week? Are you going to change your training with respect to nope, everything's going cool?
Yeah, pretty much keeping it the same. He is getting lunged a little bit in the morning because when I schooled him over the weekend, he wasn't lunged the first day because, as I said, normally I have a very, very quiet horse and my legs are shaking because of the amount of leg that I need to use. But it's quite opposite now. So, and again, he's so enthusiastic about his new job. I can't fault him at all. So, we're just making sure. I mean, he gets grass every single day. I take him out several times a day, and he gets light work. I mean, really, he knows how to jump now. It took us a little while to get him to learn, the rocking back and jumping, but he gets that now. So we don't jump him very often. We do a few warm-up jumps, and I mean, really, we're just focusing on our flat work. But he gets ridden or worked maybe 20-30 minutes a day. But he's a baby, and we just we want him to stay happy, and we want him to stay happy. And we want him to stay liking his job.
Yeah. So, Kareem, how big were the Polo ponies, thoroughbreds that you dealt with? The Polo ponies, they are thoroughbreds, right?
Yeah, many of them are thoroughbreds. When you ask how big as far as hands and the literal size.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, typically a decent sized Polo pony, probably 15-1, 15-2. Anything really, 16 hands is a big Polo pony. So we want something between 15 to 15-2 hands are like ideal size.
And how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot. So
how tall are you, Caitlin?
I am 5 foot.
And how big's your horse?
Charles is just about a hair over 16 hands. We joke that he's actually he's probably 16-2 in the butt.
Oh, he's still growing.
He's still growing. Yes. So he's a little croup high. But yeah.
Patrick says flat work is so important. It's the building blocks of the jumping.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick, for that.
Our jumping, my jump, when I've jumped him, it feels so natural. We see our distances normally together in the same. Like I said, it's been a little different here because there's so much more going on than at home. So he's a bit stronger, but yeah, it's completely flat work. It's not the jumps that are the problem. It's the keeping the rhythmic pace in between.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. So Caitlin, do you think we can get Charles on the show next week?
Yes, I will definitely try. Hopefully at that point we will be home in Texas. We'll be leaving at the end of the weekend. So yes, he will definitely be able to make an appearance at some point.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that with us. And
thank you.
We'll see you again next week. We'll say goodbye for now, but we'll see you next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks talking to you, Caitlin. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So thank you very much, Caitlin. Appreciate that. We'll see you next week. Now we're going to finish off with Kareem here with some fun questions. Are you ready? Are you strapped in for some questions?
Yes.
Grab bag of questions. What do you always keep in your pocket when you're riding?
What do I always? Nothing.
What, do you keep something in your pocket when you're riding?
I do not keep anything in my pocket because I'm always afraid of falling off and then hurting myself. So nothing is in my pocket when I'm riding.
Oh, your pockets are empty. I like to keep treats in my pocket. I keep treats.
You're much nicer than I am.
Yeah, I'm old and I want my horses to stop. So I put treats in my pocket. Yeah. We do have another comment here. Tom says, thanks for joining us, Kareem. Appreciate you sharing your story. The cat cameo was great.
Yeah,
What's your cat's name?
My cats. I have two cats, Nora and Nolan. But it was Nolan who was in the shot here.
Okay, so you don't keep anything in your pockets. Okay, do you have any superstitions or things that you like to do before an event or before a match?
I think not really so much superstition, but I always have a light meal before a match. I can't ever eat a heavy meal. So I think but no superstitions. Just a very light meal before a match.
Okay, perfect. And if you could take your horse for coffee, what would you ask them or tell them?
If I could take, well, that's a good question. I don't
Yeah,
drink
isn't that good?
coffee.
I think that's a great question.
I like that one.
Yeah.
No, I would probably, ask my horse how he or she really feels about me. If she enjoys, me if it was Cholo, I would ask Cholo if he was, if he enjoyed having me on his back. But I would be heartbroken if he told me no, obviously. So.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so thank you, Kareem. Now, before we go, I want to ask you about this. Could you explain what this is?
Yeah, so that is a mural. It's a mural here in Philadelphia, in West Philly, just a few blocks where we grew up. It's a shot of myself and my brother. The photo is actually from us. It's a picture of us playing in Indio, California, at El Dorado Polo Club, but with the city skyline in the back there. So Philadelphia has something that's called the Mural Arts Program. And the program was founded many years ago, but the idea was to create murals on the side of a lot of these vacant lots in Philly, because there are a lot of vacant lots and abandoned homes in Philadelphia, and he thought a way of sprucing up the city was to be able to paint on the side of the building. And we're one of, I want to say, hundreds of murals in Philadelphia. So this is a picture of myself and my brother Jabbar here with a few of the local kids looking up to us.
It's a wonderful, wonderful mural. And are you one or are you two?
Well, I am in the green here. So both of these green photos are of myself, and then the blue or purple, whatever color that is my brother Jabbar.
Ah, okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today.
No, thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was an honor to be on the show and great talking.
Yes. So Kareem Rosser was our guest today, author of the book Crossing the Line. And thank you all for joining us today on StreamHorseTV Stable Social Live. Now we're going to see you next week when our guest will be Sarah Hickner. Sarah Hickner is the host of the Live, Ride, Learn podcast and author of Stories from the Barn Aisle. Sarah will be announcing the winners of her Stories from the Barn Aisle youth writing contest on next week's show. If you're a horse crazy kid or teen who has a hilarious riding lesson story or a special moment with a heart horse, you've got until the end of tonight. The closing date is June 15th. That's today, to submit your entries. And the entries should be submitted to storiesfromthebarnaisle@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow StreamHorse TV on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and subscribe for free at StreamHorse TV for more on what we have going on in our community of horse enthusiasts. So thank you so much. And we do have a couple more. Do we have any more comments? Okay, we have this one. Allison says, thank you, Kareem from Nova Scotia, Canada. Thank you, Allison, for that.
Thank you for joining us.
And I think that's all of them. Oh, Randy says, thank you. You're welcome, Randy. Thanks. We got Tom in there. Patrick, thank you so much, everybody. And we appreciate
Thank you, everyone.
being here with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.